Hey guys, what's up? Here's Max. Time is a complicated thing, and some say that time is not unique, but a cycle that repeats itself all the time. And if one thing changes in that cycle of time, everything that happens later may change, creating a new and different future, and then the concept that we call timelines arises. Another interesting thing is that time can be variable. Did you know that? Yes, a day can take a completely different time to complete on other planets. For example, we know as a day on planet Earth lasts 24 hours, but a day on planet Mercury lasts over 1,400 Earth hours. In other words, one day on Mercury is equivalent to more than 50 days on our planet. Knowing that, how about we imagine what would happen if in a timeline, the time on planet Vegeta, the planet of the Saiyans, was different from how time passed on planet Earth? What if we imagine that Kakarot was born a few years earlier? What would Kakarot's life have been like on planet Vegeta with his people? Or rather, what would happen on planet Earth if Kakarot wasn't there? What would things be like on Earth if Gohan was born a few years earlier and was the hero of our story instead of his father? In this story, we will tell you what it would be like if Gohan was the protagonist of Dragon Ball from the beginning, and what the history of the franchise would be like with him as a hero. But in that case, what would happen to Kakarot? Let's find out. Stay connected to the channel and let's go to the video. On one of Universe 7's many planets, called Planet Zeta, a long and bloody battle was raging. Explosions can be seen all over the planet. This planet was just one of many that were attacked by the terrible Saiyans, a place made up of voracious warriors who work for the tyrannical emperor of their universe, Frieza. But this time, something different was happening. The Saiyans were losing the battle. Kakarot fled flying from an enemy city along with a fellow Saiyan named Oniox. Both were very injured. Oniox, desperate, says, "Damn it, Pota was killed. These bastards are more powerful than we thought. And to make matters worse, this damn planet doesn't have a moon." Kakarot says, "We need to get out of this place and go back to planet Vegeta to get back here with reinforcements." But suddenly they are surprised when a string of shots coming from a group of pursuers destroys Kakarot's tracker and goes through Onyx's chest. He immediately collapses. Kakarot yells for his companion, but he has no choice but to keep running, and so he flies away at full speed. Kakarot lands next to his ship, and after entering the ship he takes off towards space. The warriors from the planet can't reach the ship with their speed, but they shoot from a distance with energy attacks. Some of these attacks hit the ship before the flying object leaves the planet. The ship continues rocking in space. Kakarot realizes that the fuel tank was damaged by the shots, and because of that the fuel is slowly leaking. He deduces that he won't be able to reach planet Vegeta with the fuel leaking like this, and he also can't call for help, as his tracker was destroyed while he was fleeing, and the ship's communicator system was also damaged. He has no choice. He has to stop at the first planet with intelligent life, and he can try to find and resolve the situation. After a few weeks of wandering through space in search of a planet with intelligent life, Kakarot finally finds one, in a planet with an intense blue color. The Saiyan lands on the ship of the planet, causing massive destruction in a field. After landing in this field, Kakarot sees a farmer who probably saw the ship landing and went to see what was happening. Seeing Kakarot get out of the ship and head towards him, the farmer tried to run, but Kakarot caught up with him quickly and threatened him, ordering him to tell him where to find someone on this planet who knew about how to repair spaceships. The farmer says he doesn't know anything, but he could ask Ox King. Those lands are ruled by him, and he's a rich man. Maybe he can help. Kakarot asks where this man named Ox King lives, and the farmer explains to him how to get to the king's castle. After receiving this information, Kakarot lets the man go, takes the spaceship in his arms, and heads towards Ox King's castle. Kakarot is arriving at the king's castle. He can already see the big buildings from afar, and in his mind he reflects that that castle was nothing compared to King Vegeta's castle. But the Saiyan's thoughts are interrupted when a war axe comes whirling towards him. The Saiyan immediately dodges, but the axe stabs into his ship, which angers him. Kakarot immediately lands and tells the person who made it to appear immediately. A big man comes out from behind a tree. That man is Ox King, who asks why this strange man is flying into his territory. Kakarot notices that the king is not alone. A very beautiful girl is accompanying him. Kakarot asks if he's the Ox King, the one who rules the land. The king confirms. Then the Saiyan tells him about the ship and asks if he can help. But the Earthling King doesn't want to give this foreigner any favors. He just wants him to stop flying near his castle. Kakarot says that if he doesn't want to help him with information, he at least needs to repair the damage he did to his ship. But the king says he won't do that. He's the one in charge of the region, and he's the one who gives the orders. For the foreigner's disrespect, he will teach him a lesson. Kakarot smiles. Does this Earthling think he can do something against him? The Saiyan man removes the axe that is stuck in the ship, and then with only one arm, and clearly not using too much force, he throws the weapon. The axe travels through the air with such speed that Ox King can't even react. The weapon passes right through him and heads towards the tree behind, and in a clean cut, the axe cuts through many trees before finally coming to a stop. Ox King and Chi-Chi are completely paralyzed as a group of trees fall behind them. After doing so, Kakarot asks if the king still wants to fight, but the man is completely angry, and in a feeling that gathers fury and despair at the same time, he advances towards the Saiyan. Kakarot sighs as he says that this man is an idiot, and then the Saiyan concentrates strength in one of his hand and punches the air. And only the pressure of Kakarot's blow makes the king leave the ground and fly a few meters before crashing to the ground again. After doing so, Kakarot says that he admires the Earthling King's courage, so he will kill him as a worthy warrior. The invader points his hand at Ox King and forms a cue ball, but when he is ready to fire, Chi-Chi steps in front of her father in a fighting stance. This surprises the Saiyan, who orders her to get out of the way, but the woman doesn't obey. She won't allow him to kill her father. At that moment, a childhood memory pops into Kakarot's mind, an occasion when he unintentionally provoked a Saiyan man on planet Vegeta. The man was threatening to kill him, but his mother, Jinne, stood between them in a way as Chi-Chi is in front of Ox King now. She also said that she will not allow anyone to harm her son. After remembering this, the man sighs and then gives up attacking. He makes a deal with her. If she helps him, he won't do them any harm, and he'll leave this planet as quickly as he can. Chi-Chi agrees and says that on planet Earth, there is a very rich company that has the most advanced technology on the planet. The name of the company is Capsule Corporation. She says the man who runs this company, Dr. Briefs, is an extremely smart scientist, and when she was in town recently, she heard that the Capsule Corporation was trying to work with spaceships now. This information interests Kakarot, who says he's going to this place called Capsule Corporation and will ask for help from this man called Dr. Briefs. But Chi-Chi says that if he goes alone, he'll cause a lot of trouble in the city since he doesn't know how things work on Earth, so she'd better go with him. Kakarot asks why she cares about this and why she wants to help him. The woman with a shy expression says she would like to fly a little. Kakarot is shy too, but he agrees. He needs to fix the ship after all, so any help is welcome. Kakarot and Chi-Chi head towards Capsule Corporation. The man carries the woman on his back while he carries the spaceship in his arms. When Kakarot arrives at Capsule Corporation, Dr. Briefs welcomes him incredibly well, and for the Saiyan's surprise, the old scientist is not surprised to hear his story. Apparently not many days before, he was visited by another person from outside Earth, a strange man who belongs to a group called the Galactic Patrol. Kakarot said he's heard of these people. They don't like Saiyans. Dr. Briefs says that it doesn't matter if they're allies or enemies. What really matters is learning more about alien technology. The old man examines Kakarot's ship and notes that it has almost no fuel and is already reasonably damaged. Since he's already learned a bit about alien spacecraft and how the fuel system on these vehicles work, it won't take that long to fix, but it will still take at least a month to get it fixed and refueled. Kakarot doesn't like that. He doesn't want to have to wait a whole month on this weird planet, but he understands that it's not an easy process. He says he'll wait until the day comes. Suddenly, he's surprised by a little girl touching his armor. Seeing this, Dr. Brief apologizes and introduces his little girl. This is his youngest daughter, Bulma. Staring at the little girl, Kakarot feels something strange, as if he already knew her from somewhere. But surely, it's just a meaningless thought. After all, he's never been on Earth before, right? Talking to Chi-Chi, the Saiyan asks if there's entertainment on this planet. Something he can do during this month, he'll need to stay. Chi-Chi asks what kind of entertainment he likes. He says he likes to fight and asks who's the strongest warrior on this planet. If he fights someone strong during this time, maybe this month won't be so boring. Chi-Chi, after thinking for a while, says that her father's master is known as a great fighter, and he's called the god of martial arts. His name is Master Roshi. Kakarot says this is perfect. He wants to see this man called Master Roshi. Chi-Chi says that she will take him to the island where the hermit lives, and then they both say goodbye to Dr. Brief and even Little Bulma. Kakarot takes Chi-Chi flying to Master Roshi's house. She points out in the right directions, and on the way she tells him about the stories he's heard about this martial artist, and about how he's acclaimed in the martial arts world of Earth. After a while, they finally arrive at the small island where Roshi's house is. When they get there, they see a training taking place between two old men. One of them is Master Roshi himself, while the other is Son Gohan. Master and disciple got together to train and reminisce about old times. Seeing those men, Kakarot is disappointed. The strongest man on the planet, a geezer. Hearing this, Master Roshi gets very angry and asks if that stranger's mother didn't teach him to respect his elders, and then asks who he is and what he wants. Chi-Chi explains the whole situation to them. Roshi looks better at Chi-Chi, gets red in the face, and comments about how much he's grown. The last time he saw her, she was just a little girl, but now she's a woman. The old pervert tries to touch the young woman, who gets very angry and responds to this attempt with a strong punch to the hermit, who has a huge callus on his head. Kakarot is very surprised by this scene. He expected the strongest man on Earth to be more aggressive and fierce. On planet Vegeta, most warriors are extremely grumpy. Curious, Son Gohan approaches the foreigner and takes a good look at him. The two stare at each other for a while. Both have a curious expression in their eyes. Son Gohan says that for some reason, he doesn't know what it is. He has a feeling he's a good man. Kakarot says it's too much of an exaggeration to say that, especially when he's talking about a Saiyan. But looking at the old man, the Saiyan says that for some reason he can't explain, he also likes him. After this brief conversation, Kakarot tells Master Roshi that if he is the strongest man on Earth, he must fight him now. This request leaves Roshi very surprised. This foreigner was a very eccentric man. At first, Roshi refuses the fight, but then Kakarot resorts to many provocations to the older man, putting his reputation in doubt. After many provocations, Roshi agrees to fight. The fight doesn't take long to end. Kakarot has it very easy against the god of martial arts, who can't even make the Saiyan sweat. But Kakarot faces Son Gohan, who can't do more than Master Roshi. After fighting those two, Kakarot confirms what he already suspected. The people on the Earth were not strong compared to the people considered strong throughout the universe. But as he fought those men, he felt a peace he never felt while he fought. They didn't fight with bloodlust or malice in their hearts. They fought simply because they enjoyed doing it. It was totally different from the reality he knew. After the fight, Kakarot asked if he could spend a few days there, and Roshi allowed it. Those were the most peaceful days of the Saiyan's life. A month passed for Kakarot as if it were a day, and even though he was able to return home, the Saiyan decided to stay a little longer on Earth. Probably no one was looking for him. Besides, he's a low-class Saiyan who doesn't have much value. After some time on Earth, Kakarot became involved with Chi-Chi, and then the woman became pregnant. Son Gohan, who became very good friends with Kakarot, offered him and Chi-Chi to live with him in the house at a place called Paozu Mountain. The couple accepted, and in this way they were able to live happily for 9 excellent months. After 9 months, their son was finally born, a baby who was both Saiyan blood and Earthling blood. But there was a problem. Kakarot and Chi-Chi didn't know what they were going to call the child. They thought of many names. Chi-Chi came up with numerous Earthling names, just as Kakarot came up with numerous Saiyan names, and they even tried to put together a few names to see if it was approved. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't agree on what the boy's name should be. And then a few days passed. The life Kakarot was living on Earth was much happier than he could have dreamed. But then the past decided to knock on the door. 2 ships entered the orbit of planet Earth. Kakarot was outside his house, sitting on the grass. Chi-Chi was beside him, and still unnamed baby was in his arms. They admired a beautiful sky from the mountains. Suddenly, the baby started crying uncontrollably. It was as if he was feeling something very bad. The parents did not understand the reason for the child's crying. They wondered if he was hungry or in pain. But then Kakarot finally sees two streaks of light in the sky. Anyone would think it was shooting stars passing through the sky, but not him. He knew what was going on there. Kakarot, while giving the child in his arms to the mother, tells Chi-Chi that she must keep the baby and she must not go after him no matter what. Chi-Chi doesn't understand why he's saying those things. As she holds the baby in her arms, she asks what's going on. He explains the situation. Those lights that passed in the sky were spaceships, Saiyans or soldiers from Frieza's army that are on the planet. Possibly they came for him. He should go talk to them before they start causing havoc on the planet. Chi-Chi was very worried and yelled at her husband not to go, but Kakarot ignored her and flew away. Son Gohan, who was doing something inside the house, came out to find out what was going on. Chi-Chi explained to him that Kakarot went after strange people who invaded the planet, and she was very worried about him. To reassure the woman, Son Gohan said he's going after him. The ships landed in an open field on the planet, and then the two crew left. They were two Saiyans. These Saiyans were called Okra and Paya. They were two low-class Saiyans. Okra, who was apparently the one running the mission, orders Paya to look for Kakarot, and Paya does so using the tracker. As the tracker searches for Kakarot, it measures the fighting power of Earth's inhabitants. Paya sees this, laughing while saying, "What a joke. The average fighting power the tracker is measuring up from the inhabitants of this planet is 5 units or less. If Kakarot has fallen here, how has he not completely subjugated this planet?" Okra, Paya's companion, says, "Well, maybe he didn't land here after all. Or maybe he may have arrived dead on the planet, or died in a supposed fall." Suddenly, Paya's tracker begins to indicate a higher power. He warns Okra. Paya says, "Wait, I'm detecting someone approaching, and that person's fighting power is 1,200. After hearing this, Okra says, "It's not possible that there is someone so strong on this planet with such a weak race. It's definitely Kakarot." A few minutes later, Kakarot arrives at that place, and seeing Okra and Paya recognizes them. They've done some missions together in the past. Seeing Kakarot, Okra and Paya are surprised to see that he is okay. They thought that if he was on the planet and the people of the place were still unharmed, it was because the Saiyan was not in a position to fight. Kakarot asked what they were doing on Earth. Is the planet on the list to be invaded? Okra says no. They came looking for him. They learned that Kakarot and his group had failed in their mission to take over planet Zeta, and so they invaded the planet and destroyed all the people there to regain the Saiyan's honor. But while they were on the planet, they learned that one of the Saiyan warriors had escaped, and from the description that the soldiers there gave before dies, they discovered that one who escaped was Kakarot. Paya adds that the soldiers also reported that Kakarot's ship had been hit, so they deduced that he had trouble traveling and began searching through space. So they discovered this planet, which is the only planet with intelligent life in that region of the universe. Okra says that they assumed that either Kakarot was dead or badly injured, but that's not the case. He seemed fine. What happened? And why wasn't he returned to planet Vegeta yet? Kakarot responded with a half-truth, saying that he went to the planet because his spaceship was damaged and almost out of fuel, but amidst the fact that the ship is already fixed. Okra says that one way or another, they need to get back. Recently, they received a call. Apparently, Frieza ordered all Saiyans to return to planet Vegeta. The information makes Kakarot suspicious. Why is Frieza doing this? Okra says he doesn't know, but they need to get back immediately. Kakarot obviously doesn't want to go. After all, he has a family on this planet now. But he can't just give those Saiyans that excuse, so he has no choice but to agree to go. But then Paya tells Okra that since they are not on that planet, they could conquer that place in the name of the great Frieza. It's not in their orders, but perhaps the Emperor will appreciate their willingness to work harder than they need to, and give them a slightly higher rank in the army. Or maybe King Vegeta himself does it. After all, it would be another achievement of the Saiyajins, which would raise their respect among Frieza's army and the universe. Thinking about it, Okra agrees. It's a good idea. Maybe they'll be promoted to captain or something like that. At that moment, Kakarot is desperate. Will they destroy the entire human race? Will they kill his wife and child? At that moment, he tries to convince Okra and Paya not to do that. This planet is insignificant. Neither King Vegeta nor Frieza will promote them just for conquering this mediocre planet. But the two Saiyans notice Kakarot's expression of fear and discomfort and ask what's going on and what he's hiding on that planet. Kakarot tries to disguise his anguish and convince them that there's nothing wrong there, but the two men are already decided. They will eliminate all humans and offer the planet to Frieza. Seeing that he couldn't convince them, Kakarot decides to change his tactics, and then, without any warning, he fires an energy attack at both of them. But Okra and Paya reflexively manage to dodge it, and let a part of that field be destroyed by the attack. Okra and Paya are surprised. What does Kakarot think he's doing? The Saiyan who is on Earth says he can't let them harm those people. If they insist on it, unfortunately, they will be enemies. The two invading Saiyans laugh at that. Does Kakarot think he can defeat both of them? This is madness. Okra recalls the fact that Kakarot's fighting power is 1,200. It's the same fighting power as Paya, who also has 1,200 power units. But his power, Okra's power, is 1,300 units. Does this mean that Kakarot has an enemy with exactly his power level and another superior? How does he intend to win? Kakarot in thought agrees with them. He hoped to eliminate at least one of them in a surprise attack. There's no possibility of him facing these two at once, but now there is also no possibility of escape. He's already started that fight and now he needs to go until the end. Paya tells Okra that he will face Kakarot. The leader must not stain his hands with that traitor. Then the lower power Saiyan advances towards Kakarot and attacks him. The other Saiyan blocks the attack and counterattacks, but his attack is also blocked. The two Saiyans of equal power exchange blows evenly on the ground, and then begin flying and exchanging blows in the sky. Even though they both possess the same level of power, Paya gains the upper hand for a moment, and lands a strong punch on Kakarot's chest, the pressure of his blow even going through the hit warrior's body. After being hit, he walks away, spitting blood and placing his hand on his chest. Paya says that he wounded Kakarot's heart with that blow. He's impressed that he was strong enough to not die, but for sure he's weakened now. It's time to end that stupid fight and kill the people of this planet. Paya starts to focus energy and so Kakarot decides to do the same. But Paya notices that Kakarot has made a very peculiar position to focus his energy, and so he asks what kind of attack he will use. Kakarot says that he met an old martial arts man on this planet, and he taught him this technique. The attack's name is Kamehameha. Paya laughs and says that's a technique taught by someone of that race with such mediocre powers cannot be good. Kakarot will die just as mediocre as those he tries to protect. After concentrating a large amount of energy, they both fire off their attacks, and the two energy waves collide. Paya's energy wave immediately takes advantage of Kakarot's energy wave and charges towards him. Losing the dispute, Kakarot needs to cancel the Kamehameha and dodge. But when he dodges, Paya is already next to him preparing an attack, and he is about to hit Kakarot. He says that after this attack, he won't be able to fight anymore. But when Paya attacks, Kakarot immediately disappears. It was a mirage. After that, he appears behind Paya, preparing another Kamehameha, and while the Saiyan looks surprised at him, wondering what was happening, Kakarot smiling says that that was another technique of an Earthling. It was called Sensoken. After that, he fires a short-distance Kamehameha at Paya, who was completely hit by the attack and engulfed by the energy. After receiving the attack, he falls from the sky to the ground. Paya is dead. After defeating this enemy, Kakarot lands on the ground again, but he immediately falls on his knees with one hand on his chest. The wound caused by the opponent is really affecting him. Seeing all that was happening, Okra is very surprised. Kakarot beat Paya even though he had inferior fighting power because of his injury. Kakarot explains that fighting power is important, but not everything. He shouldn't define the result of a battle with this tracker. Okra praises Kakarot for managing to defeat Paya, but what will he do now? Since the beginning, Kakarot was inferior to him in power, but now he is seriously injured. This difference is even worse. But Kakarot gets up and says that no matter what the difference between their power is, he will keep fighting. Earth's protector goes towards Okra and attacks him, but the stronger Saiyan easily parries the wounded Saiyan's blow and counterattacks. Kakarot is hit by many very strong blows from the other Saiyans and is thrown to the ground. Okra says that as they fought a few battles together, he'll give him a quick death if he surrenders. That's the most he can offer after what the traitor has done. But Kakarot ignores the offer and stands up, saying that Okra still hasn't won. Annoyed, the invading Saiyan fires an energy attack at Kakarot, who would be hit by the attack and killed. But suddenly, someone jumped on him and took him out of the way of the attack, which blew up a mountain that was a few kilometers away. Kakarot saw that the one who saved him was Son Gohan, and then asked what the old man was doing there, clearly disapproving his presence there. Son Gohan explained that he promised Chi-Chi that he would bring him back to his wife and son, and it's a good thing he came. If he was a second late, Kakarot would be dead. Kakarot says that Gohan is an idiot, he shouldn't have gone there. Okra, hearing what the old man said, laughs. Now he's understanding the situation. So Kakarot has a wife and child on Earth? What a joke! How dare he tarnish the Saiyan's honor by breeding with such an inferior race? Their warrior blood should not be mixed with the blood of those weak people. Now he desires even more to destroy that race. Kakarot gets very angry and says he won't allow Okra to harm that planet and the people who live there. He manages to get up with difficulty and advances again towards the invading Saiyan. But he is severely beaten and again falls to the ground, this time much more injured. Son Gohan is very impressed with the power of that man. If Kakarot can't even come close to matching him, this old fighter can't do anything. But after thinking for a bit, Son Gohan realizes that he actually can. There is something he can do. Okra fires towards Kakarot. He intends to deliver the final blow, but then Son Gohan uses the Bankoku Bikori Sho technique and fires an energy beam that, hitting Okra, paralyzes him immediately. Shocked by that technique that hit him, Okra wonders how such a weak Earthling could have such a technique. Kakarot, surprised by Son Gohan's intervention, asks what he's doing. Gohan replies that this is one of Master Roshi's secret techniques that he was taught many years ago. With that, he can paralyze the enemy for some time. But Kakarot must be fast and attack with all his might. Kakarot, with no time to question, stands up, begins to focus all his power while doing the Kamehameha stance. Okra, seeing that Kakarot had amassed a great deal of power despite his injuries, was startled, and so he began to struggle to escape Gohan's technique. In a second, the invader's efforts already showed results. He was able to move. The old Earthling, seeing that Okra was starting to move and would escape in a few seconds, increased the intensity of the attack even more. The electrical wave gets even bigger, and the Saiyan suffers even more. Gohan yells at Kakarot, saying that's the most he can do. He needs to attack immediately. In the second attempt, Okra finally breaks free from Bankoku Bikori Sho, but it's too late. Kakarot fires a powerful Kamehameha at the invading Saiyan, who is engulfed and completely torn apart by the energy wave of the lower Saiyan, who used all the power he had in the attack. After that, Son Gohan falls with his hands on his chest. Kakarot immediately goes to him and asks what's going on, and the old man explains that using so much power was too much for him. He's given him all that he has to get Okra to freeze for those few seconds. His heart is stopping. Kakarot is very sad about that. He asks why that man gave his life for him. This is a stupid thing to do. A Saiyan would never do that for another. But Gohan replies that Kakarot is already his family, so he happily sacrifices himself. It may seem stupid what he will say, but he considers Kakarot as his grandson. Hearing that, the Saiyan lets out a sad smile and says that he really would have liked to have someone like Son Gohan as a grandfather. Hearing this, the old man is happy and then he dies. Kakarot closes his eyes in sadness and laments over the corpse of a peaceful man who died because of him. After all this happens, Kakarot returns home with Son Gohan's corpse. Seeing that Gohan has died, Chi-Chi is very sad and cries bitterly. That man didn't deserve to die like that. Together, Goku and Chi-Chi bury Son Gohan. Afterwards, Kakarot tells Chi-Chi that now that he has been discovered, he must return to planet Vegeta. Okra and Paya had trackers, and these trackers also function as communicators. This means that the chance that someone saw what happened between him and the two Saiyans is very high, and King Vegeta will surely send warriors after him to Earth, and in the next time he will be surely defeated. They're going to destroy the entire planet. He must return to ask the king for mercy for the planet and face his own crimes there. Chi-Chi cries and asks her husband not to go. From what he said about the Saiyans, it is certain that they will kill him. Kakarot says that's probably what will happen. But if the Saiyan troops come to Earth, he will die anyway, and so will she, the baby, and all other Earthlings. If he goes there on his own, they may consider it an honorable act and grant him a wish before he dies, and he will ask that Earth not be judged for his crimes. Chi-Chi is very sad to hear that. But if that's what needs to be done, there's no choice. Kakarot buried the ship he used to arrive on the planet when it was repaired by Dr. Briefs, so now he dug up the ship and prepared to depart. But before Kakarot leaves, Chi-Chi takes the baby to him. The child, as if knowing what was happening, cries desperately for his father. Kakarot takes his son in his arms and takes a good look at the boy's face. It's probably the last time he'll see his son. Chi-Chi asks him to choose the baby's name before going. Even after so long, they still hadn't decided on a child's name. They discuss many times, and they always end up without a name. But now, whatever name he chooses, she will accept. Looking at the son, Kakarot, without having to think too much, says that the boy should be called Son Gohan. Chi-Chi smiles. She completely agrees with him. The child will be called Son Gohan. After choosing his son's name, Kakarot speaks directly to him. He explains to the baby that in his veins run the warrior blood of the Saiyan, but also the peaceful blood of Earthlings. He must take the best of each bloodline to become a better person than his father ever was. He must be very strong, a great warrior, but he must also be a mighty warrior who fights for peace. After saying those words to Gohan, Kakarot says goodbye to Chi-Chi and says that he would have liked to spend more time with her and those people. After saying goodbye to his family, the Saiyan enters the spaceship and takes off towards space. As the ship gains more and more altitude, Kakarot looks at the planet below him and wonders what his life would have been like if he grew up on that planet instead of planet Vegeta. Would he be a better man? Would he have a peaceful heart like people he knew? Could he live longer? He would never know. After a long journey, Kakarot finally arrives on planet Vegeta. He lands on the planet's airstrip and exits the ship. As soon as the Saiyan soldiers see him, they immediately surround the defector, ordering Kakarot to surrender immediately. He's under arrest. He surrenders without any resistance. That same night, Kakarot was already in prison. As he sat in the cell, he reflected on everything that had happened in his life and wondered how Chi-Chi and Gohan were. But the prisoner's reflections are interrupted when the jailer announces that he has a visitor, and Kakarot already wonders who it is. The visitor is Bardock, who, seeing his own son in the situation, before saying anything punches him in the abdomen. After receiving his father's punch, Kakarot sarcastically says it's also good to see him again. Bardock asks what he was thinking. Why did he deflect? Why did he stay on planet Earth instead of coming back? And why did he attack his own fellow Saiyans? Kakarot explains the whole situation to his father and tells him everything that has happened to him in recent times. Bardock says he's an idiot. He shouldn't have let his heart soften like that. But Kakarot questions his father if he also wouldn't feel seduced by such a life. Wouldn't he like to live in peace with his own family without being a slave of a damn tyrant anymore? Wouldn't he like to live peacefully instead of massacring so many innocent people? Bardock doesn't answer. The truth is that he understands his son despite not saying. Kakarot asks if he already knows when the judgment will be. He would like to speak with King Vegeta first. It would be nice if his sentence was judged by the king himself. Bardock says his judgment should take at least 2 days. Tomorrow Frieza will arrive on the planet, and King Vegeta is very worried about it. Surely the king won't occupy his mind with anything else until Frieza leaves the planet. Speaking of Frieza's visit, Kakarot reveals that he finds Frieza's sudden desire to gather all the Saiyans very strange, and asks what his father thinks about it. Bardock says he has a bad feeling about all this, but Kakarot should be worried about himself, not Frieza. The jailer announces that visiting time's over, and Bardock, with a sad look on his face, turns his back to his son and says goodbye. They will probably never talk again. A day passes and then Frieza arrives at planet Vegeta, along with his army. From prison, Kakarot notices an abnormal movement in the planet. Something very bad was about to happen. King Vegeta, fearing the worst, planned a revolt against Frieza. He went to the tyrant ship that was flying over the planet's orbit. The Saiyan King's plan was to eliminate Frieza, but the Saiyan's plan wasn't going so well. Bardock decides to go face the Emperor of the Universe, but before going, flying through the prison from afar, he launches an energy attack that destroys the wall of Kakarot's cell. Kakarot is startled by the wall of his cell being destroyed, and then goes to the hole in the wall to try to find out what happened, and sees someone flying far away in the sky towards space. It was his father. Kakarot, with a smile on his face, thanks his father. Looking to one side, he sees the planet's landing strip far away. He could try to steal a spaceship and go to planet Earth. Maybe with all this mess involving Frieza, no one cares about it. But looking the other way, he sees his father gaining more and more distance. He was definitely going to face the tyrant. What should he do? After thinking for a few seconds, Kakarot makes his difficult decision. Far away could be seen the image of a planet disappearing into the universe, the planet that belonged to the controversial Saiyan race. Something strange happened with that cycle of time, and so Kakarot was born earlier than he should have. As a result, many things have changed, and among them the fact that he grew up on his home planet and became a typical Saiyan warrior. Kakarot, by the whim of his fate, met planet Earth and also Chi-Chi, and the two had a son. They decided to name son Gohan. But then Kakarot needed to return to planet Vegeta, which was destroyed. What will life be like for those on Earth from now on? How will the history of this planet be impacted without Kakarot, or rather, Son Goku, to deal with the problems that arise? What will be the story of planet Earth, as Gohan is the hero of this story? Find out in the next episodes.